reading Psalms 133, verse 1, as well as Matthew chapter 18 and verse 15. Again, Psalms 133 and verse 1, Matthew 18 and verse number 15. During the 19th century, there was a fight in Congress about building a railroad system that would go from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast. As with most things in politics, there was much congressional infighting. They were finally able to get this accomplished in an effort to unite the country. On May 10th in 1869, the presidents of both Union Pacific and Central Pacific Railroads met in Promontory, Utah, to put the last symbolic stake into the line to complete what became known as the Transcontinental Railway System. This benefited the country in that it provided economic expansion, it helped to settle land, and it made travel more efficient. The problem is that this did not unite the country. It only provided an economic and travel benefit. The fact that we are united by way of a railway system does not mean that we're united in who we are. This is the same concept that we must understand in human behavior. Uniformity does not make us united. Just because we all do the same things and perhaps say the same things does not make us united. You can tie two cats together, tie two bulldogs together. It doesn't make them one. As we consider the objective of unity, we see in Psalms 133 and verse 1, where the Bible says, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." Some would say, wow, that is great, but it's idealistic. Because when we look over at Matthew 18 and 15, we see that sometimes people who are supposed to be united cannot always get along. There the Bible says, "Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear you, thou hast gained thy brother." Allow me to expound upon this passage and help us to recognize a very simple principle here that will help relationships in the church, relationships in the family, and other social circles that we might find ourselves in. As you look at this particular verse and the verses that follow, nowhere in the passage does Jesus give any indication that two people must necessarily agree on what they disagreed with. As a matter of fact, Jesus puts the emphasis not on settling the difference per se, but on gaining the brother. In other words, whatever has separated us should be inferior to the relationship that we hope to enjoy with one another. I've come to understand that in order for us to have unity in the church, in our families, or with others that we engage with from time to time, that we must learn to value the unity. Sometimes when relationships are broken, when people are not able to be on the same page, they could care less about disassociating from the other person because they put the issue above the relationship. In order for us to have the type of unity that God seeks, we must value that unity ourselves. We must also learn to love one another despite the fact that we do not always agree. In those times where we offend or have been offended, we have to learn the value of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not always easy because we want others to feel the hurt and the pain that they have inflicted. But we must come to see that forgiveness to others is a necessary requirement in order for us to receive forgiveness from God. We must also learn the value of the word respect, not because Aretha Franklin sang it, but because respect is a part of normal human relationships. We have to recognize that we will not always agree with others, but we have to respect their right to think different, in fact, their right to be different. Respect means that we may go to our graves never agreeing on something that we have previously discussed and shared our perspectives on. But in respecting one another, we accept the fact that not everyone thinks like me and not everyone thinks like you. Hopefully, we have a common purpose, and that purpose should be to please God and not to draw the line in the sand and simply hold on to our opinions, our perspectives, at the cost of relationships. Here's something that I've learned in life. You never know who you're going to need, and you never know who God will use to bless you. So before you have to consume humble pie and have to admit your need for someone you never thought you would need, let's learn to value unity. Let's love one another, forgive each other as appropriate, and respect those with whom we disagree. This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.